Morning, everybody, and welcome to the inaugural box office rundown. Because my co-host and I are sick and tired of just talking about movies from the past and their box office potential. We want to talk about movies concurrently and keep it along with the box office going along today. So, me and my glorious co-host, Mr. James O'Reilly, how are you today, my friend?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
I am doing well. I am excited to dive into the weeds here and really get into our present box office, not just box offices of yesteryear.
Yeah, I mean, speak for yourself about being sick and tired. I, for one, am looking forward to doing more old movies from the past. But
I'm
in the meantime, I suppose we could take a few minutes to discuss current trends and numbers and dates and numbers.
Show me the money. Yes, we're going to dive into some good, glorious numbers. And we figured this was the perfect weekend to start with a whopper of a movie that came out with that had a lot to go on. So we're not going to waste any time. We're going to dive right into all this box office potential. You guys will see some slides start popping up, some glorious slides detailing our box office of the year. We're going to start with the 2024 box office, where we chart week over week just how well these movies are doing in the top 10, how much money the top 10 has made week over week. We are in February 2nd to February 4th weekend. That is the fifth weekend of the year. We did $52 million. That is just a not great amount of money, especially when you take a look over last year, Jim. Last year, this same time, we did 72 million. A lot better of a weekend last year. You had bigger movies coming out like Knock at the Cabin, 80 for Brady, a real classic there.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely hitting a certain market, right?
Oh, absolutely. And also hanging around in the top 10 still last year is Avatar: The Way of Water, which is still making money hand over fist.
Right. And we don't have that kind of movie this year that,
Oh,
that came out in December. I mean, the closest thing I suppose is Wonka,
yeah,
but
that's not
that's
doing,
not
yeah,
really all that close to Avatar.
yeah, not quite the same, but still pretty solid. So yeah, so it's definitely you're definitely feeling the effects this year of just not performing to the standard that we have set last year. Last year was a big year. We'll briefly look at it. We're going to turn our attention back to January. We're into February, the second month. We didn't really take a look at January, but we'll quickly look at the box office from this year over last year here at January. You'll take a look on the screen now. Last year, we did 336 million in January, thanks to movies like Megan, thanks to low budget hits like Plane, and thanks to Avatar: The Way of Water really chugging along. And this year we took a hard drop. We only did 254 million this year in January, and thanks to only two movies came out that did anything of note. Mean Girls was the first one, um,
Okay.
and Beekeeper is the other one.
Ooh, Beekeeper, yeah.
Yeah. So the only two movie, and that's just not going to cut it compared to what you had last year.
Yeah, I mean I'm just crunching the numbers here really fast and it looks like it went down by over $80 million from last year.
Yeah, which is
That
not
doesn't
great.
sound good.
No, it does not, especially when we're trying to be on this trajectory of, especially in the movie industry, they keep talking about bouncing back from COVID, getting back to those 2018 and 2019 levels. And this right here still shows that we've got a bit of a ways to go still. It's still a very, a lot of peaks and valleys still right
Yeah.
now in the box office.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. I just based upon what you just said though, and what movies were in the mix last year. I mean, this can't be a surprise to anybody, right? That this year is down a pretty significant amount. I mean, nobody was expecting Mean Girls and Wonka to carry like Avatar's water, right?
Sure. Yeah, you had to expect at least a bit of a decrease because you didn't have a movie like Avatar that's just cleaning up through the winter. Like you said, the most we can talk about would be Wonka, and then the movie Migration, which, those are the 2023 Christmas hits that are still making a decent amount of money right now, but it's nothing. You could probably put those two movies together and their total isn't touching what Avatar was pulling alone last year around this time. So you had
Yeah,
to expect a
so
decrease.
exactly, yeah, and we've talked about this dead period a few times, and this is what this dead period is like when you don't have that humongous movie that's carrying over. It's just a dead period, you know?
and you're going to feel it. But thankfully, we're getting towards the end of it. We just got to get through February, and then March. We're going to be off to the races. So we'll get through the weeds. But now let's turn our attention to the top 10, Jim. We had a hum. This is our first new big wide release in almost 3 weeks. We have had no big wide release movie come out the last few weeks. So everyone was waiting to see. We got a new wide release movie, big spy movie. Matthew Vaughn, creator of Kingsman, coming out with another big spy movie. Huge cast. Everyone was expecting gangbusters this weekend. Let's take a look at the top 10 and see if that turned out to be the case.
Yeah, so of course you're talking about Argyle, right?
Oh yeah,
And that does open number one. it it's listed here that it has a $200 million budget,
which it,
and it
yeah, go
go
on.
ahead.
I was just gonna say it's literally insane.
That's so insane, and it's
For
such a red flag that this movie is coming out on the first weekend of February.
I know, right?
Like such a red flag.
It's as
Um,
oh my god,
but yeah, so against that $200 million budget, it opens to $18 million.
dude,
Not very
that's
good.
that's horrible. That like when all is said and done and the dust settles, that could potentially be up there as like one of the biggest bombs just against its budget. It's insane.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I don't know. That feels like a movie I'm going to be watching it on streaming by March. You know what I mean?
Probably. Well, it was financed by Apple. And so far,
Oh, so all right, so I won't be watching it on streaming because I
you
very famously do not have an Apple Plus TV, whatever it's called, account.
do not the Apple TV account. Yeah, this was financed by Apple, which I guess explains the 200 million budget because Apple also threw 200 million at Killers of the Flower Moon and at Napoleon. So
Yeah, Apple's got
somebody,
money to burn. They don't care.
I mean, that's $600 million off of three movies right
Yeah,
there.
Apple makes that in like 8 minutes. They're fine.
That's but like that's insane. It's so insane to
Yeah.
contextualize.
Yeah, no, it's an insane. Yeah, it's a crazy, crazy high amount of money. And I mean, yeah, this movie, there's zero chance it's going to be a success at this point, right? I mean, at least in terms of like box office, like the box
Yeah.
office take versus its budget, it's going to be a monumental failure. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I know you
So
didn't
that
see it.
opens to number one, 18 million. Coming in at second, The Chosen season 4, episodes 1 through 3. That's kind of a mouthful. What is that all about?
That is so this has been happening randomly over the last like year and a half that I've been charting and following along. This show, The Chosen, a faith-based show, just randomly puts out a few episodes in theaters and it does well. It does like it that's pretty on par with all the other seasons and episodes that I've seen them throw in theaters. They always end up somewhere in like the 6 to 10 range.
Yeah, so it did. I didn't even say the number. It made 6 million even. Let's call it 6 million and some change. Coming in third in its fourth week out with a 20.9% drop is The Beekeeper. It drops one slot from second down to third with a 5.3 million.
Ooh. Yeah, this movie has stuck around and has been a modest little hit for itself. As you can see, like
Yeah, and
the
I mean,
40 million budget domestically, it's made 50 million. You couple with whatever it made international, and you got yourself a mid-sized hit right there.
yeah, I mean, 50 million domestic seems pretty good for a Jason Statham vehicle called the Beekeeper. I mean,
Yes.
is he
The
literally a beekeeper? Is that the
Did you not see this movie?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, you got to do yourself a
I
favor.
mean, I want to. I'll probably
So
see it this week.
the Beekeeper is a pun for the shadowy organization that exists outside the law that is called in to handle high profile targets when they overreach their ability within the government. It's absurd
Why are they bees though?
because bees protect the hive and America is the hive
Yeah, okay, so but then why aren't they just bees? Why are they beekeepers? I don't it doesn't make any
because
sense.
he lives outside. He's what they call the queen slayer. So he comes in and he really
Dude,
takes out the
this
hard targets.
wait, the fact that you just called him the Queen Slayer
He
and
calls
somehow,
himself
hold
that.
on, somehow that made it all click. I don't know, but it's amazing.
You should see
The
it for
Queen Slayer.
the bee puns alone are
That is so
fantastic in that
silly.
movie. And that's all. $40 million budget right there for the beekeeper. That's what Argyle should have been. Like 40 to like 80 tops.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you. Yeah. So anyway, coming in fourth, this is a movie that you talked about in our yearly review episode that you thought was going to stick around in the box office and kind of keep raking in money through this first couple weeks, first couple months of the year.
Yeah.
Coming in fourth in its eighth week with a 15.8% drop, also dropping one spot from third to fourth. Wonka with 4.8 million, bringing
15.8,
its domestic total to 201.1 million.
15.8% drop. That's good. I told
That's
you
pretty good.
that
Yeah,
movie was
that's
gonna
pretty
stick
good.
around.
Week 7 to week 8, and it's still pulling in like 4+ million. It's really
Yep.
good. Yeah.
That's a big fucking hit. Good for you, Wonka.
Yeah, and well deserved. It was a delightful movie. It's like one of my
Well,
favorite movies that I've
yeah,
seen in theaters in a
well
long time.
deserved. In Paul King, we trust.
Yeah, yeah, dude. He's officially made the list of people I'll see every movie they make.
I'm ready for Paddington in Peru. Let's get it.
Yeah, right. Ben Whishaw, the role of a lifetime, the career-defining role. Uh, anyway, coming in fifth in its seventh week. This is also a pretty good drop here, 16.1%. Coming in fifth with a drop from fourth to fifth place, drops one spot. Migration with 4.1 million, bringing its domestic total to 106.2 million.
This movie, much like Wonka, has just kept making money. This had a really bad opening weekend too, to the point that people were like writing it off. And I said the
Uh,
same thing. I was like, just wait. This movie's just gonna keep making money. It's just because it's the only kids movie in town. It's gonna keep making money, and it did.
yeah, I mean, right. That's like something you can count on is no matter what time of year it is, I want to bring my kids to the movie on a Saturday. You know what I mean? Just to
Yeah,
like get them to stare at something for a few hours.
yeah. This movie's still doing business. So good on Migration and Wonka, the big hits of the Christmas season. So congrats to you two.
Yeah, yeah. Moving on to sixth place.
The same cannot be said for our 2024 movies so far.
Yeah. So moving on to sixth place, this dropped 5 spots. So I mean, I
This
think
movie,
that means this opened number one, right? And
this was number one for 3 weekends, and then dropped from number one to number six. That's a
gotcha. Right.
big
So we're in
fucking drop.
sixth that dropped 5 slots with a
It dropped,
42% drop.
yeah, dude. It dropped behind two movies that came out last year.
Yeah, that's wow. When you put it that way, it's Mean Girls with 4 million. This has 4 million even, bringing its domestic total to 66.4 million.
Well, that's still, even though it had a big drop, it still made its money at this point. $36 million budget, 66 domestic, whatever you want
Yeah,
international. This movie
yeah.
still
I
made some
mean,
money,
this is a remake of a really popular movie, but it's like a
but
musical.
it's
They
not.
released it in
Yeah,
January. It's like
it's
I don't know.
but it's an
I know it's an
adaptation
adaptation
of the
of the
Broadway
Broadway
play
adaptation of the original
of the
movie, which
original.
is an
Yeah,
adaptation of a book.
it's
We're into
absurd.
like really
We're,
deep
yeah,
into this Russian doll situation,
yeah, it's
but
absurd. And it couldn't even
but
match the performance of the original. I'm pretty sure the original still did. I think this had the better opening weekend, but the original had better legs.
yeah, that makes sense because the original's really good, and I haven't seen this one, but I don't know. I feel like this is what kind of what they were maybe not as good as they hoped, but this feels like it's not too bad for them either.
Definitely still maybe, especially considering this was originally supposed to come out on streaming, and then they decided to put it in theaters.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's
totally.
that's still a win for yourself right there.
Yeah, I'd say that's about right. I'll probably catch it on Paramount Plus.
There you
Uh,
go.
coming in seventh, with a drop of 2 spots, so it dropped from fifth down to seventh, and a 24.3% drop on the money. Anyone But You with 3.5 million.
This was the dark horse of the Christmas season too. This movie, no one was expecting anything, and it's just been cruising. 76 million total domestic of a $25 million budget. Worldwide, it crossed 100 million. So they are reaping the benefits right now. They just announced that they are re-releasing the movie, even though it's still in theaters. They're like, we're re-releasing it for Valentine's Day. It's like, motherfucker, it's still in the movie. Like, what do you mean? It's still in theaters.
Yeah.
And they're like,
Well,
no,
yeah, but
no. They're calling it the Valentine's Day edition. And they're like, what's different about it? And they're like, nothing.
what's different is that it's Valentine's Day, so deal with it. um, yeah, no, that's pretty cool. I can't think of a more rom-com guy than Glenn Powell at this point. He just seems so perfect to be in that movie. Like that pair seems like it would get people out to see it.
It was. It's a slam dunk on their part.
Like,
It was a
are you
solid
gonna
rom
see
com.
this for Valentine's Day? Are you gonna see this on Valentine's Day?
No, so we saw this already back when it came out around Christmas time. We went and saw
That's
it.
not
I
what I
did.
asked you,
No,
sir.
I know.
I asked you if you're
I
gonna see it. Are you gonna go to the Valentine's
I
Day
did
release?
ask Heather if we were going to do the Valentine's Day because I know she loved this movie, but
Yeah.
she actually wants to see this upcoming week's release, Love Frankenstein. She wants to see that on
Oh,
Valentine's Day.
okay.
So
We'll have
we'll
to talk
and
more about that one in a minute.
yeah, well, when we get to the end, we'll talk about the upcoming week's release and we'll dive into that bad boy. But that's what she wants to see for Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Okay. So coming in eighth, it actually moves up a spot from
Ooh.
ninth to eighth. In its eighth week, with this is another pretty good drop for this late in the game. In its eighth week, it drops 11.4%. It's American Fiction gets 2.3 million, bringing its domestic total just a shade over 15 million.
That's good. $1.8 million budget too. That's so
Yeah,
there.
right. I know. I
That's
mean,
big.
this is going to be an awards movie. I'm sure it'll do
Yeah.
well in
I actually
whatever post theater market it ends up in.
I actually just saw this movie today. I went to the theater and saw it. So I actually saw just saw American Fiction today, and top notch movie.
Nice.
Yeah.
Coming in ninth, dropping 3 spots, so from sixth to ninth. If you're doing the math at home, that's 3 spots. With in its ninth week with a 26.9% drop. Poor Things coming in at 2.1 million, bringing its domestic total to 28.2 million.
Honestly, that's more than I would have expected for a movie like this. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I loved this movie, but this movie seemed like it would be a hard sell with audiences.
Yeah, it's definitely not what I think of when I think of a commercial movie. It
Yeah,
definitely
exactly.
doesn't
Yeah,
fit like that bill at all. It's
yeah,
definitely a lot closer to Beau is Afraid than it is to I don't know, whatever the next Marvel movie is.
very true. Yeah, it's amazing that we're at a point where we don't know what the next Marvel movie is. I mean, I'm sure that's announced, but like we don't
I'm
know.
sure somebody out there
Yeah,
knows.
yeah,
Feel free to yell at
yeah,
me because
I'm
I
sure
don't know.
somebody at home is like ready to write in the comments like it's fucking Deadpool.
Yeah. Oh wait, that's probably right. Actually, is that right? Deadpool?
Is it? I don't know. I
I
just
don't
said the
know.
first superhero
Either
that
they
came to
just finished
mind.
filming it or it's supposed to be coming out soon. I couldn't tell you, man.
I couldn't tell you.
I can tell you what superhero movie did come in 10th place this week though. That's
Nice segue.
in its seventh week with a 26% drop. It drops 3 spots from seventh down to 10. That's another three if you're counting at home. Uh, Aquaman comes in with 2 million, bringing its domestic total to 120.8, which sounds okay until you get to the fact that it had a $200 million budget.
Another $200 million budget.
Yeah, and
It's
I mean, so
insane.
this is a good one to round out the top 10 because it's it's the final nail in the Zack Snyder coffin for
Yeah,
DC, the
in the
DCEU.
DCEU coffin, the final nail. Which I mean, this one I don't fault it for being a $200 million budget because the first
Yeah, dude, they
Aquaman
had
made $1 billion.
and
None of it.
that is our top 10. That is
Yeah,
our top 10.
and that is the top 10. We take our look, before we continue on with our other glorious box office terms. We like to say goodbye to our fallen heroes. These are our movies that did their time in the top 10 but have now bowed out for greener passages. We have two movies this week that are bowing out of the top 10. We have Godzilla -1 minus color, an absolute mouthful right there. Spent 1 week on the chart and is bowed out. And
I
then
love that name though. -1 minus color is such a good
yeah,
gag.
it's so
Get
funny.
it? Because it's in black and white.
Yeah,
That's why.
thanks for spelling that one out for everyone at home.
They spelled it out for me. I'm just saying.
That's true. That's true. They did sugarcoat it there for you. And then The Boys in the Boat, the classic of our boy James Woke
The James
movie.
Woke
The James
vehicle.
Woke vehicle. Yeah, I'm not even going to talk about George Clooney or Joel Edgerton. This is the Jimmy Woke vehicle. Spends
Jimmy Woke.
spends 5 weeks on the chart and now bows out. Thank you for your time in the top 10. As always, we salute you. Now, Jim, before we quickly move on, we were, talking about all of our funny little stuff here with Aquaman. I did
Yeah.
want to look briefly and just see our chart by chart performance of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom against the first Aquaman movie because they did everything in their power to align the stars for this movie to repeat the performance. Because when I was looking at how it did week over week, both of these movies were released on years where Christmas Eve would fall on a Sunday, New Year's Eve would fall on a Sunday. Everything was aligned exactly how the first movie was.
Right.
And none of that could stop just the absolute train wreck that had become the DCU by the point that Aquaman 2 comes out. So we got some totals here. If you look on the left-hand side of the chart, Aquaman 2 right now as it's about to bow out of the top 10. This is probably its last week in here. Next week, you got movies like Love, Frankenstein and stuff coming out. So Aquaman's probably getting the bump out of there. Currently only sits at 120 million domestically. At
Right.
this
Through its
time for
first
the
7 weeks.
yeah, for its first 7 weeks for Aquaman 1, currently sat at 323 million domestically and had yet to even dip out of the top 5. If you look on the right-hand side, it held number 1 for 3 weekends in a row and
Right.
then stuck around in the top 5. Aquaman 2
Yeah.
barely. The performance side by side is insane.
Well, just look at those first. I mean, Aquaman's opening weekend looks like it beats Aquaman's first, I don't know, 5 weeks, maybe more.
Yeah. Yeah.
45, 55, 60. It beats like its first like 6 weeks, like just by itself with its opening weekend. I'm just doing
That's
some
true.
quick maths in my head here, but I'm getting up to like 65 or so after week 6. Like,
It's crazy that it did like pretty much half of Aquaman 2's total domestic haul so far in its first weekend.
although there's got to be like, is there like some weird like 3 or 4 day weekends happening here? Because I'm also noticing that 120.8 doesn't really add up to those first 7 weeks.
I would imagine they probably count the 4 ones because especially if Christmas Eve is landing on a Sunday and New Year's Eve is landing on a
Yeah,
Sunday, they're probably
right.
counting the Monday.
Yeah, so
There'll be the 4 day ones.
it's probably got some big days mixed in there for like the actual holidays. But yeah, just in terms of the weekends, Aquaman 1 is blowing it out of the water. And like its drops are a lot better. Like even its second weekend, 52 million is still good enough to beat like the first like 3 or 4 weekends of Aquaman of the second one. So yeah, I mean it's like stomping it, right? And I mean Aquaman 1 goes on to make $1 billion. This one I don't think is gonna get anywhere close, right?
I don't think this one's even going to touch anywhere near close. I don't know what its worldwide, total is at this point in time, but it wasn't enough to even sniff close to the top 10. So this was a huge, huge disappointment
Yeah, and I
for everyone
mean
at DC.
this is probably the flip side of the coin for these kind of superhero things where everything's so intertwined and it's like this big universe where now everyone knows your universe is over and you're starting a whole new universe. So it's like, why do I need to see this movie? Who cares, you know?
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
the
They,
flip side of that coin. You're kind of like you're getting the opposite, the
they
negative effect.
they really hurt themselves by announcing James Gunn and all that stuff like so early because now you had all these movies that just never stood a chance because why should we care if this is just over? We turn our attention now to the top 10 worldwide and domestic for this year. Obviously, early in the year, so these are very not many, or pretty much none of these movies are going to stick around by the end of the year. This is basically just, what's been able to do the best right now to just string it along to those summer months where then they're going to say goodbye. We'll start with the top 10. Number one movie worldwide right now, Jimbo, The Beekeeper with $122 million. In second place, Mean Girls with 92 million. So just outside of reach worldwide for passing that $100 million threshold.
This
Uh,
next one, I feel like it's gonna. I think it's gonna hang
dude,
here. I don't know. I
yeah,
don't think this is gonna be kicked out so
yeah.
easily.
So in number three right now, Night Swim with $43 million. Yeah, a lot of movies are gonna have to work really hard if they're gonna want to pass that total.
To pass Night Swim.
Best Night Swim. And then rounding out the rest of these, we'll run through them quick. These are all basically foreign films. You got some South Korea in there, you got some India, Bollywood, Japan, all those heavy rollers. So we got
Is
Surf 2. What?
is Surf 2 about like, like Hang Ten, or is it about like a guy like who's like farming and he's like owned by a lord? Is it like, which one is it?
Considering it's spelled SERF, I'm gonna go with the second one.
Oh, that's right. The ocean one is spelled with a U.
You,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Yeah, there we go.
get this guy his vocabulary book.
Yeah. You know
And
how I
then,
remember that? When you're surfing, you are in the ocean.
yeah.
That's
Rounding
that's
out
a
the
little
top
device
five.
for you guys.
Yeah, there you go. You keep that one in your back pocket, any Californians out there. Rounding out the top five, Hanuman takes 34 million right now worldwide. We got Fighter with also with 34. Big heavy hitter here, the Bremen Town Musicians with 30 million. Gunter Karam with 21. Apologies for all of the horrible enunciations I'm going to give to some of these.
Yeah,
Captain
there's no way you're
Miller.
saying this right.
Captain Miller.
That
Oh,
one was an easy one. What
yeah.
country is that one
I
from?
don't I don't know. And then a movie that I definitely am very interested in based off this title here. Rob and Roll with
Yeah,
11 million right here.
I almost went and saw this last week because I
It,
was running out of movies at my theater to watch, and
was this really
I
playing at your theater?
yeah, it was. It
Really?
only had like one showing though, and it was usually
Oh,
around like 7, and that was a little later than I was trying to go.
Rob and Roll. I hope that one comes to Netflix soon because that sounds like a classic right there. And then we turn our attention over to the top 10 domestic with a bit more movies you might have heard of, especially if you're here stateside listening to us. We do the old switcheroo. Mean Girls is actually the number one movie domestically with 63 million. Beekeeper sits right behind it with 44. So Beekeeper internationally was a pretty big hit.
Yeah,
Night
I
Swim
mean,
still
I'm
taking the
pretty
bronze.
I'm pretty amazed that Mean Girls that they got like almost 30 million internationally. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, because that
I
does
would
seem
have
like
thought
it'd
that
be a
would have been
much
like
more domestic
only
title.
US business. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But rounding out the bronze, Night Swim in the hearts of everyone worldwide and domestic, sitting in third spot right
Yeah,
there,
it's
27
gonna
million.
hang in this top 10, dude. It's
Yeah,
gonna be a real underdog story.
the re-releases are really going to keep this
Yeah,
movie afloat.
absolutely.
Argyle debuts in the number fourth spot here with its 18 million. Definitely not where it was hoping to land. I'm sure this movie was hoping to just cruise right to number one right at the start.
Yeah, and it's
Uh,
like the fact that it's even in fourth says a lot more about the stuff that's about to come after it than it does about Argyle, you know?
yes, because coming in after it, we have the critically lauded ISS. With a
Was it
six.
critically lauded?
No.
Oh my god, dude. I left that movie a changed man. Not since Rocky 4 have I felt so countryless.
Oh my God. ISS sitting pretty right there with 6 million. The Book of Clarence right behind it with 5. Origin with 2.7. And Miller's Girl there, paltry
Miller's Girl
321,000.
going for the you accidentally bought that when you were trying to buy tickets to Mean Girls market, pulling in 321,000 to crack into the top 10.
There we go. So still, and not even 10 movies to be able to have a full 10 just yet. We're sitting pretty with 9 right now. And now the last chart that we love to look at here. This is one of the favorites for me and Jim here, and that is looking at our legs. That's our chart riders. That's where we like to take a look at our movies and see how long that they spend in the top 10 so that by the end of the year, we can take a look and we can see which movies released this year had the best legs at the box office. When we take a look right now, especially early on in the year, it's really just, the new, some slow new movies, but it's mostly a lot of the new movies that came out from last year that are just having dominance over right now. We talked last when we did the year in review about Avatar and Puss in Boots really doing it last year. And so far, right now, the big ones, as you look right there, the movies that have spent the most time in the top 10 so far for 2024 are all the Christmas movies. You got Wonka, Aquaman 2, Anyone But You, and Migration sitting at the top of the pack right now with 5 weeks.
Yeah, and you're probably going to see Aquaman 2 dip out, but I mean the other three of these seem like pretty strong contenders to make it to 6 weeks, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I think these ones are probably have a few more weeks in them, especially with the Wonka and Migration, especially still in the top five after all this time. So they've still got a couple of weeks in them. It'll be interesting to see how far this journey takes them. But right behind them, you got Mean Girls, The Beekeeper, and Poor Things with 4 weeks in the top 10 right now. Boys in the Boat dropped out, so it's now locked in at 4 weeks spent in
James
the top
Woke,
10.
no.
James, yeah, Jimmy Woke, rest in peace, my friend. But we'll be there for the next one. Bigger, on to bigger and brighter things, my friend. Unfortunately, Night Swim. Oh my God. Poor Night Swim. Locked in at 3 weeks, bowed out after only 3 weeks in the top 10.
You
Just
know what they say, stars that burn twice as bright can only burn half as long, you know? That's just science. It's just the way that works, you know? So
this
three
is
weeks
true.
for Night Swim is reasonable, I
This
think.
is true. Right behind Night Swim, we've got American Fiction so far sitting 2 weeks in the top 10. Iron Claw, right behind it, locked in, had only spent 2 weeks in the top 10. Our two new movies, Argyle and The Chosen, now at 1 week apiece here. We'll see. The Chosen usually only spends about a week and then it's gone.
I was
So
gonna
we'll
say,
see.
yeah, everybody who
Yeah.
saw The Chosen went today, right?
Yeah.
There's no
So
way that they're gonna go.
not a lot of longevity in those ones, but it'll be interesting to see how long Argyle manages to stick around for. And then all the movies locked in at only 1 week apiece. You got The Color Purple, Ferrari, ISS, Book of Clarence, and Godzilla minus color, only managing 1 week apiece here. So obviously early going. This is going to get a lot more exciting as we go along with these chart riders. But there'll be a lot of good stuff to come along. It's going to be interesting to see what movies have the best legs here at the box office. Now, one of the last things we have here, this is something me and Jim did before we went on air. Obviously, because we didn't want to waste a lot of time doing it like here in person with you guys, and waste time here. But something that we like to do here is we like to make our guesses at the beginning of the year and see just how well those guesses held up for the entirety of the year. I did this last year. Jim joined me this year for doing it, and that is basically coming up with our top 10 bets. This is the movies that we think will be the top 10 grossing worldwide movies come the end of the year. And then we also like to do our blockbuster status chart. And this is us guessing every movie coming out this year domestically that we think will do the blockbuster 100 million. I don't want to toot my horn too much, but I did pretty good for the blockbuster status one last year. I only missed three. So that was pretty good. I was terrible at my worldwide one. My worldwide one couldn't have been more wrong.
Yeah.
But my blockbuster one was good. So I think we came up with a good list here, Jim. Do
I
you
think that my input is what's going to put you over the top this year. I think we're going to get all of them right, and I think we're going to do great on the worldwide list, and I am more than happy to take all the credit for that.
Jim is calling 10 out of 10 for the top 10 bets, and he's calling every blockbuster one right here. So do you want to run down what we think our top 10 for 2024 is going to be worldwide, and I will take the blockbuster.
Sure, sounds good.
All right.
So, number 10, Mufasa.
Mufasa.
Number 9, Lord of the Rings. Is there what Lord of the Rings movie is coming out this year?
Uh, the
I know I
row.
put this on the list, but it was just on name recognition alone. I have no idea what movie this is.
It's like the Riders of whatever the. It's
The
not
Riders of
Rohan,
Rohan?
not Rohan. It's like Rohirrim or whatever. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's like a
Oh,
mouthful of it.
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Interesting. Where does it exist in the timeline?
it's coming out in December.
Not like the timeline of our movies, like in the Lord of the Rings timeline. Ah, yes, in the Third Age, December.
So it's it's set 261 years before the Two Towers is what it says.
Okay, gotcha. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, we also have on here Venom 3.
Ooh.
Inside Out 2,
Okay.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which
Oh
I will
yeah.
not see. No, I probably will see that.
I mean, it won't be Tim Burton's, but
No, not even close. Furiosa, Dune Part 2, Joker 2, Deadpool 3, and finally, last but not least, Despicable Me 4.
I think this is pretty good. I think this is one we can go to the bank on, and I'm looking forward to us being proven right by the end of the year.
Yeah. One Marvel movie. How about that, huh?
Yeah, it's going to be a great year. One Marvel movie. Fantastic. Fantastic. But we'll move. We're going to keep it chugging along. We're going to move on. These are all the movies that we think are going to hit 100 million domestically. And obviously, this will,
Yeah, so everything that was in that top 10 list will be on here, right?
yeah, pretty much. And then a bunch of other outliers. So I'll run down the list here on this one. And basically, there's no order to these. I just went from charting what's coming out soonest to the end of the year. So kicking it off, Dune Part 2. Kung Fu Panda 4, definitely going to do it. Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire, Godzilla v. Kong, Furiosa, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, the Garfield movie,
Ooh, that one's
Ballerina.
contentious.
Yeah, contentious one. That one's a dark horse. That one can go either way. But at my theater, every time kids come in and they see that Garfield poster, they go ape shit. So
Interesting.
I think it's gonna do it.
Little insider info
Yeah,
here.
insider info right there. So you heard it here, folks. Take it to the bank. Put your bets on Garfield because it's going to happen. Ballerina, which is a John Wick spinoff. I'm a little concerned though that there hasn't been any footage yet or even a trailer, and it comes out in June. So this one might get bumped. At which point it's a wash for us. Inside Out 2,
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
A Quiet Place Day One, another Quiet Place movie, another one that's supposed to come out like early summer, and we haven't gotten anything for. So I'm also a little worried about that one. But if they get bumped, that's it's not a knock on us. We can't control that. Despicable Me 4, Deadpool 3, Borderlands. I know that one's a little bit of a dark horse too, but video game adaptations right now are in. And I
They
would,
are. There's an interesting with this video game adaptation in particular.
okay.
The guy who made the Last of Us show and is doing the Fallout adaptation, Craig Mazin,
Yeah.
was originally one of the writers on Borderlands,
Ooh.
and since been replaced. And I'm pretty sure that he is not interested in having his name put on this movie. So take that with a take that for what you will.
That doesn't always equate that this movie could still do money based off the name
It
alone,
No, it could
even
definitely make
being
money.
shitty.
I'm just saying. I wouldn't bank on it being
Yeah.
a good
Well,
video
this,
game adaptation
yeah.
because
No,
the video game adaptation
yeah.
guy was like, "Nah, I'm okay. You guys can have that."
No, and I also agree that that's one that I was on the fence of, but video game movies are in such demand right now that I'm gonna take a shot. We're gonna take a shot here. Transformers One, which is an animated Transformers movie, but
What did they win?
fuck you. That's what I want. Joker 2, Smile 2. First Smile was a
Oh,
underrated
Smile too is like,
success.
yeah, that's gonna be
Yeah,
a
so
yep, that's a good
yeah,
one.
that one's gonna do it. Terrifier 3, if it actually comes out. Venom 3, Red 1, Gladiator 2, baby.
That
Lord of
comes
the
out this year.
It was supposed to, and it's still slated for the end of the year. Entirely possible that it ends up getting bumped because of the writer's strike, but so far
Interesting.
it's still slated. So
Okay.
we'll stick with it.
Okay.
The aforementioned Lord of the Rings, Mufasa, and rounding us out, Sonic 3. But we'll turn it over to you people. Let us know down in the comments below what you think is going to hit blockbuster status this year. Let's hear your top 10. And just whatever other nonsense you want to throw down at us. You know, we always love checking these, and we're going to keep checking along as we go. And join us for all these good box office stats week over week as we continue and see just how well we do here in 2024. Jim, you got anything to leave the people with?
What's coming out next week?
Oh, that's right. We talked about it so much. I didn't even mention. So this upcoming week in theaters, there's only one new release, which is Love Frankenstein, movie with Catherine Newton and Cole Sprouse. which is like
Oh, Cole
updated take.
Sprouse. Whoa.
Yeah, I actually have you not seen the trailer for this movie? I think this one is
I do not
right
think I
up
have.
your. It's giving me Warm Bodies vibes. I think this one is right up your alley, Jimbo.
Why is Warm Bodies vibes right up my alley? Jeez, I didn't even
You
like
liked
that
Warm
movie.
Bodies when we saw it. Did you
I
not?
mean,
I
yeah, it
could
was
have sworn you
okay.
were a fan when
No,
we
I
saw
I
that.
did. I like. All right,
Yeah,
you
come
caught me.
on,
I kind of didn't like Warm
come
Bodies.
on. So,
What,
so
it's called
she's
Love Frankenstein?
yeah, love, comma Frankenstein.
Oh, comma.
Yeah, so
You didn't
she
tell me about
is
the
like an
comma.
outcast girl, and the tagline is, "If you can't find a boyfriend, make one." So she basically Frankenstein's a person back to life to be her boyfriend, but he's like all decrepit and stuff. So to get him looking hot again, they have to start killing people so that he can like imbibe their like essence and she'll have like a complete boyfriend. It
Are
looks
they,
it's written by the woman who
is she in
wrote
high school,
Juno.
college? Is she like an
High
adult?
school.
What's
High
the
school.
Oh my god, that movie sounds hilarious.
Yeah, yeah. It looks pretty solid. I think
All right, you called it. That is right up my alley.
I'd say I know you, Jim. Tell
Yeah,
me
so
I
do you
know
think that's
you.
gonna take number one this weekend?
I think
That's kind of like the last thing
oh
I
yeah,
have. What are your
we
predictions?
should make our predictions for the weekend. I think it'll take number
Let's do
one.
like the top like two or three, not much more than that.
Yeah, I think it'll take number one because obviously Argyle's not really putting up much to beat, and I think this will get a bit of a teen scene in there, especially with Cole Sprouse. So I could see this movie opening in the mid 20 range.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
taking number
Yeah,
one, and then
my
yeah, go
bold prediction for the weekend is that Wonka is gonna move back up to second,
back up to second.
behind Love Frankenstein
I
only.
could I could see that. I could see I could see Argyle taking a huge week to week dip and Wonka having a good hold. I will say I think Wonka, if anything, will slide back into three. I think the Beekeeper, if anything, will
Oh yeah, that's not
slide into
not
two.
necessarily wrong. That's the
Next,
note I want to leave us on.
there we go. So perfect. Join us next week where we see if our predictions for Love Frankenstein hold true, and we'll see just how well the box office is shaken up by Frankenstein's monster coming to play once again in a new spin. But that'll do it for all of us here. Until the next one, we'll see you at the movies.